It's Market Day Report. We're so glad you're with us to start another trading session. All right, speaking of trading, how about we talk about what's been happening in the overnight session? And I guess that's a good place for us to stop and bring up, how about corn? Corn futures in the overnight action down a half penny at 421.5. What about the overnight action for beans? Well, lower, near the bottom of that range, 1023 3/4, off 5 3/4 cents. How about soy meal contracts? We were lower across the board. And then bean oil contracts were lower as well. Couple of quick notes here. Soybeans and bean oil on a 2-day win streak. Wheat market. Well, overnight action for old crop December wheat for higher. 511 1/4, and for Kansas City 496.5, up 3 1/4 cents. And spring wheat Minneapolis was higher across the board. Finally, cotton market 65.22 as it moves back above 65 cents. It's up 31 points. Our guest today is Brian Hoops. Brian is with Midwest Market Solutions. All right, Brian, I thought I would tee you up with weekly export sales. Would you like to make those up?
Yeah, we can make them up. Why not? We'll get that number at some point in the future. The USDA, last time we were shut down in 2018, did kind of a data dump when the offices did reopen. We received export sales very quickly over the time that we were shut down for 35 days. They made up those numbers and sent them out rather quickly to kind of get us caught up. And I imagine the same thing will happen again this year. They'll get us caught up, but it's going to take at least till the shutdown is averted. No exports this morning and no private sales, as well as this WASDE supply and demand report that comes out or was supposed to come out this morning. That will not be out, but the newswires are publishing estimates, and no real surprises. Corn and soybean yields coming down from last month, or projected to anyway. Ending stocks for soybeans virtually unchanged. Wheat stocks growing by about 25 million, and corn ending stocks a jump of about 100 million. When we did have the quarterly stocks report, they found a couple 100 million bushels more corn than what was expected, but with the yields coming down, that lessens the blow, so to speak. So not burdensome stocks by any stretch of the imagination for corn, soybeans. The wheat is the one that is probably the most burdensome, and you see that reflected in the price levels near the $5 mark, because so many of these other countries have big wheat crops. In fact, Rosario Grain Exchange in Argentina just increased this morning, their estimate by about 3 million tons of this year's winter wheat crop, expecting good yields. And there's several countries around the globe that are going to experience record type wheat yields this year, meaning more supply, and they're going to try and undercut U.S. prices. And U.S. is just not in any type of a position where we can export wheat out into the world market, meaning it's going to be tough to sustain any rallies.
Yep, Brian, we grow a lot of wheat here in the U.S., but what's interesting is at last check, we're the 5th largest grower on the globe. China number 1, 17%. EU is second with 15%. India, 14% of the worldwide wheat production. And Russia with 10%. U.S. with 7%. Kind of interesting when you step back and look at where we grow wheat around the globe. We'll take a break, come back in a moment. We are at the top when it comes to proteins, right? Well, we'll find out in a moment. This is Market Day Report. It's Market Day Report. Okay, let's look at proteins. We'll start with the cattle market, and live cattle futures have been trading in, well, a higher territory here, as yesterday we finished the session higher, 4 consecutive closes higher for live cattle. December at 239 even, $1.27 higher. On the feeder side, 4 consecutive closes higher. November, 485 higher at 369.10. And it was the hogs slipping yesterday for the second straight session and finishing the day off a nickel at 86.12. Brian Hoops is president, Midwest Market Solutions. All right, I kind of teased this going into the break. Proteins, who raises the most protein around the globe? When it comes to pork, China #1 at nearly 50%. U.S. is third on that list, but when it comes to beef, we're #1 with 20%. And a rally now, what is it, 4 straight sessions? What's driving this?
Yeah, it's been a good run in this cattle market once again. We're pushing back not only four sessions higher, but we're hitting contract highs in a lot of the deferred live cattle and the feeder cattle contracts. And so it's been led by the feeder cattle futures. We talked earlier this week about the 5-weight steers jumping sharply in Oklahoma City at the auction this week. And it's that cash mentality, the cash is king mentality, that we're going to see stronger cash trade this week not only the feeder cattle, giving us a rally in the futures there, but also on the live cattle in the north and in the south. Really, calls are really firmed up, and they're more of a steady type calls to even slightly higher now, given this 4-day rally in the futures. So it's been a pretty good run this week. The Packers have started to cut their kills. We are down about 13 to 15,000 head so far this week as far as a reduction in our kills. That helps the box beef. Certainly, we're down significantly from year-ago levels, and from 2 years ago, even more than that, as we cut kills last year at this time as well. So we are trying to prop up the box beef. It seems to be working, as we're kind of found some sort of stability. A little bit higher prices yesterday, but mixed by the closing bell as far as the box beef trade. It'll be interesting to see where that cash comes in, but we're looking at a more of a fully steady market in cattle versus that steady to lower mentality that was earlier in the week.
Okay, I want to turn now from the proteins over to the precious metals. Gold market, we keep hitting all-time highs here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the market just blew through 4,000, and we thought, that would be kind of a stopping point for the market, at least from a psychological standpoint. We're certainly overbought here now, and probably will have a correction, but maybe we correct back to the 4,000 area or even a little bit further than that. But certainly a correction would be healthy for this market, but it doesn't seem like gold or silver really wants to slow down. We're hitting all-time highs in silver as well, and we're probably going to hit that 50-cent mark in silver before too much longer. That was another long-term target that's been out there for quite some time.
Yeah, I was just trying to do the math in my head. What's an ounce of gold worth? We know that, 4,000. And what's an ounce of prime rib worth? And I can't do the math fast enough on it, but I think gold has overtaken beef again in that value there. Brian, great to see you. Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions.